Hi everyone, welcome back to Singapore Maths Academy. Today we're going to look at another challenging question that one of our parents has sent through, and I thought it would be beneficial for more than one family to kind of have a look at it because it is a really challenging question. So let's jump onto our iPad and figure out what this question says. So it says the diagram shows a square and a triangle. The triangle is formed by a corner and the midpoints of the two sides of the square. The area of the triangle is 150 square centimeters. What is the perimeter of the square in centimeters is the question. So as you can imagine, quite a challenging question, right? Because they've given us the area of a triangle. Triangle is part of the square, but the question is working out the perimeter. If I want to work out the perimeter, I need to know the length of the square. How do I work out the length of the square is the first thought in my mind. And if I want to work out the length of the square, where do I start? Well, they've given us the area of the triangle. So if they've given us the area of a triangle, it's going to be likely that I can work out the area of the square. If I've got the area of the square, perfect, because then I can work out the length. And then from the length, I can work out the perimeter. So quite a few steps, as you can imagine. But in my mind, I'm thinking my target really is to work out the actual length of this square. So let's go and start with this. So what do I do first? Well, it says the diagram shows a square. So I know when it talks about a few things here, it's a square, right? And the triangle is formed by the corner and the midpoints of the two sides of the square. If it's the midpoints of the two sides of the square, then what I'm thinking is, well, that must mean that, let's have a look at this again. That must mean that this, that must mean that, let's go back here, this is exactly halfway, and this is exactly halfway. So this length is equal to this length, and this length is equal to this length as well, okay? So we've got those two things so far. We've got those lengths are equal. What do I do next? Well, if we think about it, this area is 150 square centimeters. And so that's going to be a fraction of the whole square. And we need to work out what fraction of the whole square that is. One way I can do that is work out what fraction these three triangles are of the whole square. If I can see that this is the whole length, and this is half of the length of the square. And so if I make a straight line from here to here, something like that, I can see that this triangle, right, let's call that triangle A. Triangle A is going to be, well, I can see that if I do something like this, I can see that triangle A is going to be, can you see that properly? What fraction is it going to be? This is triangle A, this shaded section here. I can see the same shaded section over here, right? Same triangle A here. That's two halves there, right? But then obviously it's a whole square. So I've got another section here. And finally, I'll do an orange, I think. I've got one here. I can see that A is a quarter, right, of the whole shape, right? I can see that A is a quarter of the whole square. Can I take this out? Yeah, good, perfect. A is a quarter of the whole square. Okay, right, so with that in mind, I can do the same thing for B. B is here. B is also going to be a quarter because I can see that if I split this in half like this, I've got B here and I've got B here as well. There's two halves, right? And that's two halves of that section. But the whole shape, B represents 1, 2, 3, 4, another quarter. So B represents another quarter of the whole shape, okay, of the whole square. Now C is a bit more tricky. C is a bit more tricky, but I think we can get there. Let me get rid of this and there, and then I can kind of use this, I think. Right, so I know this is a halfway point, this is a halfway point, so that must mean that if I draw a straight line here, something like that, and something like that, go back a bit, something like that, I can see that that's going to be a quarter. That square is going to be a quarter, and I can see 4 quarters here, right? Because they're halfway points, I can see 4 quarters here. C represents half of that quarter, right? And so what's half of a quarter? Well, if we think about it, if we split if we're not sure what half of a quarter is, if I split all of these quarters into what C looks like, something like that, I can see I've got 8 equal pieces, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And C is 1/8, 1 out of the 8. So it's 1/8 of those pieces. And so C represents 1/8 of the square. So C, oops, let me do that again. C represents 1/8 of the square. So a quarter is the same as 2/8. And so altogether, the unshaded sections are going to be 2/8, 2/8, and 1/8, 2, 4, 5. That's 5/8. So this represents 3/8 because the unshaded section represents 5/8. Right, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, now we can make some movement. Now we've been told in the question somewhere, here it is, that the triangle, the shaded triangle, is 150 square centimeters, and that represents 3/8 of the square. 3/8 of the square, 3/8 of the area of the square, I should write, is equal to 150 square centimeters. That means what for us? How do I work out what's the next step? Can you think about that? Maybe you want to pause and take over. If you can, that'd be great. If you can't, don't worry, we can continue on. So if I know 3/8 of the square is 150 square centimeters, then I've got, let me do this in my way. If you're not sure, because some of us might not be sure, I've got, let's say these are, oh, that's really bad half, maybe about here, that's half. These are my rough quarters, these are my eighths. This is the area of the whole square, right? Area of the square. I know 3/8 of the area of the square, or the triangle section is 3/8, we've worked that out, is 150 square centimeters. So this section here is 150 square centimeters, and therefore each of these 150 divided by 3 is going to be 50 square centimeters. So each of these eighths is going to be 50 square centimeters. And so 150 square centimeters divided by 3 is equal to 50 square centimeters. Okay, so now I know that 1/8 of the area of the square is equal to 50 square centimeters. And therefore the area of the square, which is 8/8, which means the whole square, is equal to 50 square centimeters times 8, which is 400 square centimeters, which makes it really nice because now I know the whole square, right, is going to be 400 square centimeters. And that's going to help me a lot because I know the area of a square is a length times width. In this case is a square, sorry. So length and width are the same. So I know something multiplied by itself gives me 400 square centimeters. So that must mean that it's 20 centimeters rather, times 20 centimeters, which gives me 400 square centimeters. So the length of this and the width of this is 20 centimeters. Now that I know the length and width, I can easily work out the perimeter. This is the easy part now. The perimeter of this shape, of this square, is just going to be 4 lots of 20 centimeters, which is 80 centimeters. The area is, what was it, 400 square centimeters? Yep, 400 square centimeters. And the perimeter is 80 centimeters. So that's how I would solve this problem. Quite a tricky problem, right? Would you agree? How did you find it? Quite a few steps to go through. If you're not sure about any of these, let me know in the messages below. Or if you're in our Telegram group, let us know how you went on and to solve this. If you could solve it by yourself, would you needed a little bit of help from me, or you did it all by yourself without any help? That would be great. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.